Now, you'll recall that my argument has two steps. First step is to determine the facts to be explained, and here I listed some of the reasons that have led most scholars to agree with the facts of Jesus' empty tomb, post-mortem appearances, and the origin of the disciples' belief in his resurrection. Now here, Dr. Spong suggests that these narratives should be read as myths, not literally, that it's a mistake to think of them as literal. Well, now, I believe this is really a straw man. Nobody takes every passage in the Bible literally. When the psalmist says, "Let the trees of the woods clap their hands before the Lord," nobody thinks that he's teaching botany. Rather, the key to correctly interpreting the Bible is to discern the type of literature that you're reading. Now, the Bible contains a wide variety of different literary types: prophecy, history, epistle, poetry, apocalypse, and so on. And to read these indiscriminately in all the same way is going to lead to confusion. Now, when it comes to the Gospels, Bishop Spong variously classifies these, sometimes as mythology, as he did tonight, but sometimes as midrash, sometimes as legend, sometimes as theology, and so on. The problem is that these are all distinct literary types, different from one another. But Dr. Spong, rather like that fellow in the Florida orange juice commercial, just throws everything into the blender at once and comes up with a sort of literary mash. And this isn't apt to be very helpful, I think, in our understanding of the Gospels. Let me share with you then the thinking of contemporary scholarship concerning the literary type of the Gospels. Contemporary scholars have come to realize that the Gospel's literary type is not mythology or midrash, but rather it is ancient biography, like Plutarch's famous lives of illustrious Greeks and Romans. According to Craig Keener in his recent commentary on the Gospel of John, and I quote, "The Gospels present themselves as true accounts of Jesus' ministry. All four Gospels fit the genre of ancient biography, the life of a prominent person. Jewish Christian readers would have been most familiar with literary works concerning primary characters in terms of Hellenistic lives or ancient biographies." He concludes, "Arguments concerning the biographical character of the Gospels have thus come full circle. The Gospels, long viewed as biographies until the 20th century, now again are widely viewed as biographies." Moreover, Keener notes, ancient biographies were a form of historical writing. He says biographies were essentially historical works. Thus, the Gospels would have an essentially historical function. So a correct analysis of the Gospel's literary type shows that they are meant to be an account of what actually happened. Moreover, Keener notes two factors undergirding the reliability of these biographies. First, how close the Gospel sources are to the events that they narrate, and secondly, the Gospel's care in handing down the information in their sources. He concludes on the basis of these two factors that the Gospel should be placed among the most reliable of ancient biographies. So the bottom line then is that the Gospels are not mythology or midrash, rather they are ancient biography, and pretty reliable ones at that. Now, Bishop Spong also says that should we think of the resurrection of Jesus as literal? Well, I think that question has been answered decisively by N.T. Wright in his recent book, The Resurrection of the Son of God. Wright does a study of how the word resurrection is used in ancient history, in paganism, in Judaism, in Christianity. And he concludes that there is no evidence for Jews of our period using the word resurrection to denote something essentially non-concrete. Raymond Brown agrees. He says it is not accurate to claim that the New Testament references to the resurrection of Jesus are ambiguous as to whether they meant bodily resurrection. There was no other kind of resurrection. So when early Christians said he is risen from the dead, they meant it literally and bodily. And thus you have Paul in 1 Corinthians 15 arguing with the Corinthians over the question, with what kind of body do they come? The sermons in the book of Acts portray the resurrection as a physical event witnessed by various people. And of course, the empty tomb itself is testimony that this was taken to be a literal event, leaving an empty tomb in its wake.